Welcome to Module 1, Activating a Growth Container for Extraordinary Results. It's my joy to welcome you and call forth the world-class coach who is prosperous, purposeful, impactful that you are becoming, and you are here to expand and develop and cultivate yourself as. And so coming into our training today, into our module, making the shift into extraordinary awareness, taking just a moment to make a shift from wherever your attention has been so far today, bringing your attention back inside of yourself, connecting to who you are when you are being impactful, when you're connected to your gifts and your strengths, when you are loving with an open heart, when you're taking risks and having courage, when you're connected to that bigger possibility of who you can be, and you are taking a stand to make it so, bringing forth that self who is resourceful, creative, resilient, and just allowing your awareness to drop into a deeper, wider center, expanding your attention outward to the edges of the room. And how good it is to know and just become aware that there's an intelligence in the universe that's bigger than your own mind. There is a process guiding this transformational process in yourself and in your clients that's bigger than you. There's an intelligence guiding this process of transformation inside of you and in your clients that you can be receptive to, that you can create the conditions to support. And just imagine opening up your eyes and energetically extending around the circle of our growth container here in this woman-centered learning community, where together we give ourselves and each other permission to be brilliant and imperfect. We come together in a shared intention to grow and to learn and to harness what works, to learn from what doesn't, and to keep moving forward as we become unstoppable. And for our time together, we just simply say thank you. All right, so we are diving in today, and it's always powerful to just anchor into these winning mindsets. Extraordinary awareness brings a powerful quality of attention to the forefront. And it's important when we're learning new things and we're stretching outside of our comfort zone and we're discovering new things and we're practicing and experimenting, that we bring in these potent growth mindsets. That I'm a powerful creator and I can learn new things. Just feel where that awareness is of who you are in your body. That I believe in the value of my gifts and my talents, and they are worth investing in and developing. Just feeling that alignment in yourself. The challenges or setbacks are a normal part of becoming great and a normal part of learning. It's really safe for me and others to come across things I don't yet know, or I might struggle to learn how to do, because success will be inevitable when I stick with it. And the more I grow myself, the more powerful place I hold as a catalytic presence for my clients. Create a safe space for myself and others to venture into this magic growth zone where greatness is unleashed, where extraordinary results and higher possibilities come forward. All right, well done winning mindsets. All right, so our mission together in this module, I'm going to show you how to establish a power partnership with a client as a foundation for creating extraordinary results. So, this is really everything. There's a much bigger process of transformation, of self-actualization, of empowerment that is going on inside of your client. Change is already happening inside of your client. The problem is they haven't had a growth container in which that change can happen productively and powerfully. So the creation of a power partnership, I'm going to show you the simple way to do it and a more advanced way to do it, depending on your skills and experience. But when you establish this power partnership, it's like suddenly the conditions for success are present for your client to show up engaged, catalyzed, open, expanded, supported to step into a bigger possibility for themselves and for who they are for others and what they're here to bring forward in their lives. So in this module, I'm going to introduce you to the skill of power partnership that brings together a lot of things that we're going to be covering. I'm also going to introduce you to the skill of amplification, and we're going to be using these skills really throughout all of the modules. They build upon each other. So we're going to cover the inner shifts that you need to make. This is very important. So much of the foundation that enables you to create a powerful growth container with your client starts inside of you, and you're shifting into a powerful growth mindset and becoming what I like to call a catalytic presence for your clients. And so I'm going to share with you how it's really what happens before the coaching relationship officially begins. That is what sets things up from success from the very beginning. So your client comes in with the right mindset, the right dynamics to be able to get extraordinary results in your work together. I'm going to show you this amazing practice, which really is it's kind of the alchemical, energetic field of power partnership that's going to have your client recognize fairly instantaneously that you are the person that they have been looking forward to work with, because you're able to provide and create the conditions for them to be successful and step into a much bigger possibility. And we're going to create a deep level of safety and trust, both for you as the coach, where you feel safe to take risks and to learn and to grow and to bring forward all of your strengths and resources, as well as the client. That really becomes a chrysalis for this journey that you are on to create extraordinary results with your client. All right, so just a quick note that throughout the masterclass, I'm going to be using the term coach and client. And I want you to know that I'm aware that this is a lot of different things, but for simplicity, we're just going to be using the terms coach and client. So coach is a very broad term to define somebody who influences behavior change. You might be a therapist or a trainer or a team leader, or in any context where you are wanting to positively impact others, right? So the principles and exercises in the modules really for anyone who especially works with women, and there are many other applications for women-centered coaching than just working with women. But, if you really are in any role where you're positively influencing behavior change, this really does work. And we use the term client also in both a formal and informal way. We know that you might have formal clients who you're in a professional relationship with, or you might have somebody that you want to empower. It could be a friend or a family member or somebody that you know. That's absolutely fine. That fits the description for client in our exercise. And just a final thing that I do want to underscore as well is that the design of this masterclass training is really for those who already are in some kind of coaching role, working with clients, to give you principles and tools to integrate into your existing work. It's not a substitute for a formal coaching training, right? We're not covering those things that really are foundational that I know you have already covered in your training. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with that. And there's so many different applications that you can be using these principles and I encourage you to be using them in both personal and professional contexts to create even more power and possibility for those you serve. All right, so let's dive in. So why is a growth container absolutely essential? Why is it? Why is a growth container? Why is that so important? I want to invite you to take a moment just to reflect. So the foundation of being able to get extraordinary results is the creation of this growth container. Now, extraordinary results are going to require a process of transformational change for your client. I'm going to say this again. It is absolutely impossible to get extraordinary results, results that reflect the higher possibilities of your client, where she is or they are having massive leaps in their income, able to create extraordinary love, create deeply irreversible changes in their health. We talked about this a lot in the workshop series leading up to the Masterclass and what extraordinary results are. And I encourage you to revisit those sessions if you haven't looked at those. So we're coming together to create this extraordinary possibility. And so it's recognizing that the process by which those extraordinary results come to be really is a process where your client expands her self-concept, her underlying core self-concept, this level of identity, this core sense of who she is, who others are, what she believes she deserves, what she expects, all of her unconscious assumptions, choices, habits that have been operationalizing her existing level are grown and expanded into a new self-concept that is more reflective of who she is, who they are, habits, choices, capacities that then operationalize this self-concept. In short, for your client to grow into, for your client to create extraordinary results, they need to grow into a new and become a new version of themselves. Right? This is a deep process. This is a deep, deep, deep process that you can learn how to facilitate simply and powerfully. But if your work isn't addressing this level of self-concept, it's very hard to create extraordinary results or create an extraordinary change. And this is where you come in, because your client cannot unlock her potentials without you. That's the thing I've seen in my work for the last 20 years, is that the incredible results for who your client's gifts, talents, potentials for love, visibility, presence, leadership, impact, all of those cannot come forward without having a growth container and a guide to navigate this process of breaking through the old self-concept and growing into who she is here to become. No kidding. The rise of women this century cannot happen without you. Your client cannot step into the highest extraordinary possibilities. We are living in a time of unprecedented opportunity where she can create something that is extraordinary with her life. She cannot step into that without you. And I really want to invite you to let that in, because it's something very deep to realize about the absolute central role of your work, what's at stake for your clients, and the value that you provide. So your role, the role of a woman-centered coach, is to create those conditions in which your client can grow into the person that they need to become to be able to succeed, right? It's a really powerful, big idea I want to share with you. Your role as a woman-centered coach is to create this growth container where they can grow into who they need to become to create these concrete, tangible things in their external life, where they can expand and become aware of their brilliance and their capacity and become aware of big new opportunities. Your client is not connected to her brilliance or the incredible opportunities. She needs you to amplify her in that. She's also not aware of what holds her back. Without you, she's not able to identify the invisible inner barriers that come from her personal family of origin, as well as the culture that she grew up in, that are the invisible barriers that are holding her back from these extraordinary possibilities. I've coached 60,000 women. I have never seen a woman be able to accurately identify for herself the central self-concept or inner barrier holding her back and accelerate her growth. That happens inside of the space and the power partnership that you're going to create with your client. It's also your role to empower your clients to have courage, to have self-belief, to lead them into the kind of mindsets that they need to be able to be successful. And it's also your role to provide them with the resources, the tools, the practices, the structures, the accountability to rapidly grow and develop themselves into who they need to become. Right? So this is really the territory, and all of this fundamentally starts with a growth container. Without that, there is nothing else. So your relationship with a client becomes the container for this journey of transformational change. From caterpillar to butterfly, from limiting self-concept to story of power and possibility and all the new ways of showing up. And so what it is that creates that growth container, first and foremost, it's what I love to call the catalytic presence of the coach. You are a role model in your beingness of the mindset and the relationship to life that that your client needs to take on to be able to succeed. And this is actually one of the most interesting things is how we pattern off of each other. This is one of the deepest ways that people learn and change. We pattern off each other. We have mirror neurons. If your way of being is modeling the relationship to life in your experience that your client needs to be empowered, how much more quickly are they going to be able to step into that? If you are in a fixed mindset, shut down and in non-possibility, disconnected from yourself, not really standing for an extraordinary possibility, how catalytic is your presence? Right? How is your client going to be able to locate and model off and have something to pattern after that's going to accelerate me through that process, right? Can you see how critical that is? The growth mindset of the client, right? So we need to learn how to lead ourselves into a growth mindset, but we also need to learn how to lead the client into a growth mindset, and not just lead, but really expect this. And recognize that unless we have led our client into a growth mindset, they and us are not set up for success. They can't possibly succeed if they are not willing or not committed to a journey of growth, because that is the only way in which their extraordinary results and possibilities will be realized. The field of awareness and connection between coach and client, when you're both together in a growth mindset, when you're both together standing for an extraordinary potential, when you're both together in a power partnership, what happens is there's just a field of energetic connection that becomes activating and catalytic. So it's inside of you, it's inside the client, and it's inside of the space and field that connects you both. It's also established by a series of very explicit shared agreements that the purpose of this engagement is to create extraordinary results, that the purpose of this work together is to grow, that the purpose of coming together is to create a container for this growth to happen. Without having explicit agreements, your client doesn't know what to organize around or how to show up or who to be. And you have the power to set that up and establish that really quickly. And this is the most fun part of a power partnership, that there's an alchemical activation that happens when we forge a relationship with our client's future self, who they're becoming. We're going to go into this section in the final practice today, because self-concept is kept in place in the matrix of the relationships of people in our life. And so your client is going to have people in her life who are reflecting back to her and relating to her in a way that mirrors who she is in the present or who she's been in the past. To step into the higher possibility, she needs you, at least one person, who's beginning to forge a relationship with who she is becoming, right? So if I say to you, hello, world-class, prosperous, purposeful coach, so great to be here with you today. We're in a relationship with who you're becoming, who you're stepping forward. It's part of what creates the space for your client to expand and let go of who she's been and step into who she's becoming. And that is part of the center that you hold in your relationship. So success looks like, when you're successful in establishing a growth container, remember I said there's an energy and intelligence that's your client is up to something big. She's in breakdown. The pain of staying where she is way worse than the risk of growing and expanding outside of her comfort zone. Your client, they are up to something big. And so when you establish this power partnership, there's a force of energy and intelligence that begins to guide the unfolding of the process. It's kind of like this feeling of like there's wind at your back and you have like set a sail and you're harnessing the force and intelligence of the transformational change process itself. It's kind of awe-inspiring when that happens. And on the other side, without a growth container, no amount of pushing or challenging or inspiring or throwing down with your client or challenging, holding them accountable, none of that creates the conditions, because it's kind of like there's no oxygen. There's no conditions in which growth can happen. So that's a big idea from this, right? Your role is, it's kind of like, there are seeds of greatness and you're providing the container, the fertile soil, the sunshine, the rain, the conditions in which what is inside your client can begin to come forward. All right, so are you ready to become a catalytic presence for your client? You see how important this is? So this is the first shift. Let's dive in and get started. So you want to make a shift yourself into a growth mindset. And again, you want to do this brilliantly and imperfectly, right? We're bringing that lens to all of these practices. So it's not about doing this perfectly all the time, but it's really about kind of having a noble aspiration to be striving to be living from a growth mindset, because this is the foundation of what has you become a catalytic presence. So I want to guide you through this, and we'll talk more about growth mindset and fixed mindset in a moment, but I want to invite you into reflection. You think about it. What's your own relationship to problems or challenges or failures or things that are hard, right? Like you fail at something, right? It doesn't go well. You get negative feedback, or you make an investment and it doesn't work out. What's your experience of those moments? What do you make it mean about you? Take a moment to reflect. What do you make it mean about the possibility of your success? What do you make it mean about your ability or your skills? Take a moment to reflect. So it might be mixed. You might be, you might make it mean that who I am is not good enough, or you might make it mean, oh, I could do better next time. Most of us are somewhere kind of between a fixed and a growth mindset in our response. And it's really interesting to know, regardless of our level of accomplishment, if you might have a PhD, you might have be a hugely successful entrepreneur, you might have a lot of knowledge and expertise. What I've found is these things are so hardwired into our cognition that there is such an automatic tendency, especially among women, for reasons we'll discuss, to make fixed meaning when we encounter difficulties and when we encounter challenges. And the problem with fixed meaning is it shuts down any possibility of growth or any possibility to create outside of that story. So, big idea, fixed mindset, especially for women, the deepest barriers to our own power and ability to create and ability to generate the things that reflect our potentials to be able to get extraordinary results are fixed mindset beliefs about ourselves. Who I am, I'm just not really good at business. Who I am, I'm just not really good at marketing. Who I am, I'm not really good at, I make bad decisions. That's just me. That's my thing. I'm just not this way, right? These are all fixed mindset stories, right? So the stories that we tell ourselves about who we are and the possibilities for our lives, when we're in a fixed mindset, there's no possibility of growth and there's no possibility of change for ourselves and others. Right? So if you think about what's that story that you tell about yourself or about others when you encounter difficulties, I'm either good at it or I'm not good at it. I'm good with money or I'm not good with money. I'm either good at having relationships or I'm bad at relationships. I need to just stick with what I know and stay in my lane. If it's hard, it must not be meant to be. The universe doesn't want me to succeed if this is hard. If it was meant to happen, it would be easy. If I fail, it's humiliating and something to be really ashamed about. Life doesn't support me. Other people don't want what I have to offer. I have no access to resources. I'm alone. I'm not good enough. I'm too much. I'm not safe. Right? So this is a fixed mindset, and how it shows up is as the stories we tell ourselves about why things are the way that they are, that really are misattributing causation at the level to be at the level of identity. It's because who I am, right? God or the universe made the mountains and the trees and made Claire bad at money, or made Claire bad at love, or that's just how it is and how I am. Can you see any fixed mindset stories in those places that you struggle, that you've had up until now? Just bring some curiosity to this, right? We want to just kind of bring some curiosity. Interesting. Right? So research has shown that women and girls make fixed meaning in response to challenges or difficulties. It's because of who I am that I failed. 80% more than men and boys. And I would say that the reason for this is a much longer conversation, but the short version is this is a function of power dynamics in society. So you'd probably say the same pattern with populations or peoples who have been in dynamics of systemic oppression, where there has been less power because, which includes women, but there's a bigger group that this applies to. But the same pattern is here because in a world where we don't have power and others have power and we don't, the only way that we can control, the only way we have power and control is to figure out how we're being perceived, right? And so when we miss the mark or we struggle, it creates a very deep threat response that's really hardwired into it. And we're trying to figure out what does it mean about who we are so that we can respond. This is all from our evolutionary past. And, you know, we're speaking here in the context of women. It is really the number one barrier to women's power and ability to step into extraordinary results. It's your client's number one barrier to being able to succeed in stepping into their potentials. And it's probably your number one barrier in becoming a world-class coach and creating a prosperous, purposeful career, empowering women and doing your great work, right? Like, this is the fixed mindset. We're going to be doing a lot more on this as we go into the module on inner barriers. But, you know, this is a place where it begins, and we begin to bring this into awareness, because one of the things that's really powerful about bringing things into awareness is you can't unsee them, right? They now start to have distinguished. So we can now start to observe how we're making meaning. And this is part of what starts to disrupt this, right? So here we have, 80% more. It's really staggering. No matter how accomplished, how successful you'll find when a woman encounters this growth, this challenge or setback, it's really, you know, who I am is a mess, or not good at this, or all of these things. So the big idea, in contrast, a growth mindset is a mindset where you see abilities and skills as something that develop and grow and can be learned and happen through practice and happen through application. At its foundation, a growth mindset fundamentally presumes that there is a possibility for growth or change. Okay? A growth mindset fundamentally assumes that there is a possibility for growth, for change, for things to happen, right? I can learn, I can develop, I can grow. There's nothing wrong that this is hard. I can use my failure, failure is normal. Everybody fails. I'm going to fail forward. I'm going to use this failure to gather critical information that I need to be able to succeed. I can learn from my challenges. Anything worthwhile is going to require effort. Feedback from others is absolutely critical, and feedback on my own performance, being able to reflect on things I did well and things I could have done better, that this is really critical for me to be able to be successful. When I fail doesn't take me out. I create safe spaces in my life and work to fail, right? There's no high stakes when I fail. I'm going to learn. I'm either going to win or I'm going to learn. And I'm going to be catalyzed. And oftentimes the failures will catalyze my success in even bigger ways. My self-worth is secure. Failing isn't a reflection of my ability or my power or the capacity I have to be able to succeed, right? So fixed mindsets paralyze us. Fixed mindsets keep us stuck. And this is very important. Fixed mindsets disconnect us from the parts of us that are resourceful and creative. and have the ability to generate solutions. And one of the fixes that has been very common in response to the incredibly toxic shame that we feel when we're in a fixed mindset through the very good intentions of a lot of psychotherapeutic and transformational work is to want to just accept ourselves as we are. And, I think there's a lot of good intentions behind that, but how I see that happen in practice is it doesn't facilitate a shift into a growth mindset, right? Who I am is bad with money, and I'm just going to accept that about myself, versus I'm going to challenge the underlying assumption that I can't learn and I can't grow and I can't change, right? Do you see how important a distinction that is? So what's going to have you and your client unleash the creative power to be able to succeed and create extraordinary results is stepping into a growth mindset, right? So, and it's a relationship to skills, challenges, effort, feedback, setbacks, and being in growthful stories about these. So I want to invite you into an experience of this, where you can begin to start to make these shifts. And these are some really powerful shifts where you are consciously taking on new narratives and new stories that are growthful. So just invite you to take a moment just to put everything to one side. And these are some of the key shifts that really do facilitate a shift into a growth mindset. So take a moment to think about a challenge or a problem or something where you can see already you've been getting triggered into a fixed mindset. So I want to invite you to imagine for a moment you're stepping into this place of extraordinary awareness. You're giving yourself permission to be brilliant and imperfect, even in this reflection.